Don't let the old man in. I want to live me some more. Can't leave it up to
Man, old Toby Keith, you know,
Yeah,
good old American patriot. It's sad to see, man. Really is.
yeah, he'll be missed.
But welcome to Beach Nerds, Marcus May, and today I got Lee Bell with me. So what's going on, Lee?
Oh man, it's just great to be here, Marcus.
You know, these are fun.
Hey.
These are fun. So it's always a good break in the week to sit here and catch up. You been busy this week?
Yeah, man, I'm always slammed. Yeah, my daughter's 3rd birthday was this week.
Yeah,
that's adorable. But she's still birthday. Yeah, Daddy, it's my birthday, and she wants cookies.
So if it's anything like my son's 3rd birthday, so he was born December 15th. So he had his birthday, which we made sure we had his birthday. Then there was Christmas, and for the whole month of January, he was still asking for presents.
Nice.
It's like he expected it never to end. We had to tell him, look, that was birthday and Christmas. This is not life every day.
Yeah. We're like 4 days out. She's still like, it's my birthday. Love it.
Well, cool. So yeah, we're going to talk about a few crazy stories today, and I know there was one specifically that you wanted to talk about, and I'll let you kick this one off here.
Yeah, this fucking guy. So, so a couple in Kansas have been charged with fraudulently collecting more than $215,000 in retirement benefits on behalf of a dead relative while they concealed his body inside of their home for 6 years. So, apparently this guy's father, Kirk Ritter, and his father died 6 years ago, according to the father's pacemaker.
Oh, man.
So they essentially just left him in his bed in the upstairs bedroom where his body became mummified, and they proceeded to collect his pension and his Social Security and cash the checks through his bank account, which over 6 years totaled $216,000.
So, if I'm reading this correctly, it says that his body became mummified on a bed.
Right.
So they just left him in the bed.
Right. They did not dispose of his body. So, I guess they skipped a step.
I mean, you can't make this shit up. I mean, you just can't make this shit up. I mean, put them in a fucking cooler. I mean, they're a freezer. I mean, go. If you're collecting $216,000, you can go afford to buy a fucking freezer to stick a body in, and doesn't let it decompose to the state that I'm sure they had to deal with, which had to be absolutely disgusting.
And the smell,
right? For $216,000. I'm sorry. That is not worth it to me whatsoever to have a rotting body in my house to make $216,000. So,
father,
right? I know. I mean, what never ceases to amaze me is the lengths that people will go for a fucking dollar.
Yeah.
I mean,
$216,000 that was paid out over 6 years.
Right. Okay, even better. So what? 50? Oh, that's even less. Oh, shit, that's
$30,000 a year.
That's unreal. That I literally never cease to shake my head sometimes because this is crazy, man. That someone would go through this over. To your point, a little over $30,000 a year, and just leave a rotting body upstairs.
You can pay dollars to have a rotting body in my house. You know, insane.
And then of course they went to jail. So I mean that's really not worth it, because of course I'm sure they're going to spend some time in jail around how they handled a dead body and a corpse and stealing their money. I mean, there's a lot of felonies involved in this one story.
Yeah, payback. I mean, that's fraud. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great one to start it off with, because I swear, man, I never know. On another note, so Colorado is now or they're proposing a bill that will tax you for all of your pets, including reptiles. So if you have a snake, um, this bill will add a new tax of up to $8.50, but actually up to 25 on each pet, including all animals, including invertebrates. The tax is paid every year. It requires every pet to be registered with the state, and they're assigned a designated caregiver. If you do not name a designated caregiver, the cost for each pet is $25 a year. There's no cap or maximum taxation.
wait. Fish are included in this. So what? An aquarium full of fish. Do you have to pay a tax on each one?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh
That's
my!
what they're pointing out. If you have 100 fish, you're going to be paying $850 a year to have an aquarium of fish.
Wow.
And if you don't register to be their designated caregiver, then
25
you
bucks.
will. I just wonder sometimes in government, like these are supposed to be people for the people, of the people, in our best interest. What goes through a legislator's mind that comes up with a bill like this?
What kind of graft are they trying to prevent, and what problem are they trying to solve? So it says the bill claims it will connect pet animals with their owners and designated caregivers when and after emergencies occur, and protect pet animals by supporting animal shelters that are caretakers of last resort.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So this is a tax to fund animal shelters. And I
But
guess the emergencies thing doesn't make any sense. That's just word vomit. There's nothing there. It's
correct.
yeah, that's just silly. So they want to fund animal shelters as caretakers of last resort, but I mean, how much money would that be? That's insane.
Well, let's be honest here. Do we really think you can trust the government with your tax dollars to do what they say they're going to do? Because this is supposed to fund animal shelters, but why do I feel like it's going to wind up in the general fund?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean,
And then becomes the question, well, does that give the government the right to knock on people's doors asking if they have pets? I mean, this could cross some major
like, where's the enforcement? How do you enforce this? So, I'm assuming there would be something when you buy the pet from a retailer or adopt a pet from a shelter, but past that, it's unenforceable.
Correct. It's just another instance of government overreach, that they have no business in taxing people with their pets. And there's a lot of responsible people in this world that support animal shelters, that donate to the benefit of animals. I mean, there's a ton of charities designated for animals, and Americans give very freely to these organizations. We don't need the government taxing us to support these animal shelters. Like, let the people do what they do. There's a lot of love for animals. There's a lot of love for animal shelters. Actually, as a matter of fact, next week we're going to have a woman on who runs a dog no-kill shelter here locally. And so we'll talk about that. There's plenty of this. And so for the government to tax you. So basically an animal is being taxed but has no way to create income. This is insane. It's like taxing your children. That can't work.
Yeah. Well, my children are taxing. Man, like I think an aquarium would be right around my property taxes. A good big aquarium.
Insane. Absolutely insane. I mean, this was a story that I absolutely, when I read it, I was like, wow, this is. Do I think it'll get passed? Probably not. I mean,
no.
I would like to think there's enough sensible people in the Colorado legislature and legislation.
Everybody off that has a pet, which is like everybody.
Correct. But the fact that someone even introduced a bill, that makes me question the sanity of who we have represented. I mean, that's insane.
Man, it's just I mean, this is what bullshit little state legislatures do. Alabama's one of the worst. I haven't brushed up against it too many times, but it was many, many years ago. This was back, it was around 2004, 2005. I was part of this organization called Free the Hops. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay, so Free the Hops, back before Free the Hops, wrote some legislation.
Actually, I think I have, but go ahead.
Yeah, so there used to be a law in Alabama which the organization was eventually able to repeal, and the law said that in Alabama you could not sell a beer over a certain alcoholic beverage content, right? So, like a 6% beer, 8% beer, you couldn't sell it, which means you couldn't get the top 100 beers in the world. You could not buy the beer. You can go buy a bottle of vodka, right?
Yeah.
You can't buy really good German beer, So a bunch of people got together and, started writing letters, started going to the legislature. But the one thing that, killed me, I mean, it took 4 years to get this relatively simple, very in-your-face, easy thing to do passed. Because the legislature would meet, and then they would give themselves raises, and then they would filibuster. For the entire session some kind of bullshit, and I imagine that's probably how it goes everywhere, and our Congress is broken, nothing will ever
100%. Yeah, well, to your point, Alabama has some seriously messed up laws, especially around alcohol. Hell, we can't even get the lottery passed because they want to throw it in the general fund with no accountability to what we're going to do with that money.
Mm-hmm.
So the people have shot this down over and over and over, and they keep coming back with the same plan for a lottery. And it's like, at what point do you listen to the people? Because isn't that what you're here for? Like, the people say we want a lottery, but they're also saying we don't want to give this to you to spend however you see fit.
Yeah.
And we keep spinning around and around and around. So yeah, to your point, that it shouldn't be that shocking that this happens. It's just a very novel idea that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, man, and to the lottery thing, it's just an education lottery just makes so much sense. I mean, you see what it's done for Florida,
Georgia. I have a lot of family benefited from the Georgia lottery. Almost all of my family is from Georgia, and almost all of them went to college for free.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, we're kind of lucky in where we live because we've got the Gulf Shores and Orange Beach city schools that kind of broke away from the county, and those were really, really good schools. But I mean, the rest of Alabama is always fighting with Mississippi for 49th in education. It's insane. And it just we're all going over the border to buy lottery tickets.
Right. That's the other point I've always made is how much money are we spending? I mean, for North Alabama, it's Tennessee. For all of East Alabama, it's Georgia. For now, West Alabama, it's Mississippi, and then down here in the south of Alabama, it's Florida. Like, what are you achieving? Like, what are you achieving? Let's hold our money that we're spending in other states and actually put it to good use. But that's a whole tangent I can get on. We'll keep rolling with this, but it's a good topic that we probably should talk about at some point because it does seem to come up every year, and it does seem to be something that they want to try to do, but they always want to have it in the general fund, which gives us no control or there's no accountability of how the money's spent. So, speaking of another new law that is also happening, there's a new law that's being introduced in California that will require all new cars to be sold with a speed limiting device that will prevent the device from going over 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. This is from San Francisco. Imagine that.
I just think, what California and especially San Francisco needs is like some more laws and bureaucracy,
Right. Yeah. This is supposed to be for, as the way they describe it, it looks like Wiener's office actually is it's Scott Wiener who introduced this bill. Very appropriate name. These changes are a head-on attempt to tackle vehicle fatalities, which are surging across the U.S., especially in California, amid the rise of reckless driving since the onset of the pandemic. All right. First off, I have a question here. What the fuck does the pandemic have to do with reckless driving?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing.
Haven't we all done some really dumb shit in a car?
Oh yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
So, for that reasoning, it's pretty much insane. It also requires side under rail guards on trucks to reduce the risk of cars and bikes being pulled underneath the truck during a crash.
Okay.
Additionally, it mentions physical improvements like new crosswalks and curb extensions on state-owned service streets to better accommodate pedestrians, cyclists, and the disability community and transit users. This sounds like a really, really fucking expensive bill, if you ask me.
I don't know, man. Like, let's not just sit here and agree with each other, Let's play some devil's advocate here.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I mean, we've all driven in big cities, right? And then there's people who know how to do it and people that don't. The last time I was in Dallas, I got in the middle of a bunch of street races driving 30 miles per hour on the interstate, and it was like slam traffic, So, yeah, like in a certain regard, I could see, but I mean, 10 miles per hour, like think if you're, it's the middle of the night, you're on a lonely road with no cars around you and you can only drive 65 miles per hour. That would be insane, That would suck.
I understand. Yes, there are street racers that do that, but I mean, I have to imagine that street racers are not going to abide by this rule. They will probably disable the device.
Grandfathered in, so it wouldn't actually take effect for many, many years for the majority of the drivers. But I'm trying to hear. Okay, so here's a quote: "There is no reason for anyone to be going over 100 miles per hour on a public road." Yet in 2020, California Highway Patrol issued over 3,000 tickets for that just offense. for just that offense. Excuse me. That's not that many tickets.
Right.
3,000 a year for the entire state of California.
Correct. That has one of the highest populations out of the entire U.S.
Right.
Hell, some of their own cities are. I mean, Los Angeles is way bigger than the entire state of Alabama. So, I mean, we're talking about a state that has millions and millions of citizens. 3,000 tickets. I agree with you. That's not really a just cause. I think that my take on this is, you can't have overreach like that. The government's not allowed to be in your vehicle driving with you and telling you what to do when you're driving your car. So that's my biggest hang up on this is I get it. Okay. It'll make things safer. Whatever. I mean, maybe. I mean, there's still going to be drunk drivers. Hey, how well has the breathalyzer device in cars for people that have committed DUIs really worked out? Because I don't think it really has.
I don't know, man. I think it's resulted in a lot more prosecutions. That's for sure.
Maybe. But has it stopped it? No. Secondly, that's after they committed offense, and that is their way to basically be able to drive a vehicle because they are a felon as a drunk driver. So the government at that point has the right, once you agree to it, to put that device in your car. I mean, you could be the most perfect driver in the world. You may be your wife could have gotten in a car crash and been rushed to the hospital. Your kid could be in serious danger. There's a lot of scenarios that you might need to actually drive fast, and you may not have ever had a speeding ticket in your life, but because of this law, you would then you're done. I mean, you can't drive more than 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think this is another example of government trying to fix a problem that doesn't really exist.
Agreed. All right, well, we shall move on from this one because I think, we kind of have common senses here. We may not agree exactly, but
yeah.
I was trying to find. There is a story around, and I'm gonna pull up this video. Let me get this pulled up here, where basically there is immigrants just taking boats, landing on American soil, just via a boat. No one doing anything about them. Taking off, running through nice neighborhoods. And no longer are we just jumping the border. We're now taking boats to the shores of our country. This is getting a little crazy, man. Let me pull this up real quick. Basically, it's titled the boat invasion. People. There's another version where you actually see the people. Maybe this doesn't have it. Well, I thought it did, but there's actually another version where the people are jumping off the boat, running through the neighborhood. There's literally like cops sitting right there. Just turn their sirens on and let them run on them. run on by. I mean, I look, we have to fix this border situation. I mean, this is out of control. I mean, the issue I have is not with the people that actually want to come to this country. There's a lot of good people that really want to be here. They have a good reason why they should be here. They want to better themselves. They want to better their family, all those things. But at what point do we start really getting a handle on this situation at the border? We can't just let people walk through the border and just walk into our country and not vet any of these people. I mean, it's already concerning that, multiple, middle-aged Chinese men have entered the country. We know there's terrorists on the watch list that have entered the country through their borders. What is it going to take for people to realize that we're really, really, really not doing our job as a country? Like, if we can't have law and order for people coming in, that kind of translates with the entire society.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And, immigration, like, so there's a couple lines of thinking, right? So if we look at like Joe Biden and policies, his solution has been to increase processing speed for asylum seekers, right? That's what he wants to do. And so much so that a lot of the funding that he passed during his presidency specifically came with a caveat that you couldn't spend it on physical barriers, right? The funding had to be spent like updating and increasing the processing speed for asylum seekers. And then on the other side of the fence, no pun intended, um, you got Donald Trump's thing, for instance, was always physical barriers, keep them from coming in. And like my thing is, why can't we just do both? Like I don't understand why there's two sides to this issue. Why do Democrats think that is a bad thing to have a physical barrier preventing people from just walking into the country? Like why do Republicans not understand that there's like laws and human dignity, and we have to be able to process them, see if their asylum claims are legitimate, because
I agree 100%, because the way I look at it is this: there's not just one fix that solves this issue. There's nothing one thing can do that will fix it. A wall's not going to solve the problem, and processing faster is not going to solve the problem. We have to look at this all the way around. What I think is happening, to your point, is like, why cannot Republicans and Democrats agree on this? Because they essentially realize there's a problem. They all know there's a problem, because no one wants to give the other side the victory.
Exactly. That's what we're seeing right now with this bill that's about to die tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. They came up with a compromise. They worked it out. And it was, a lot of the things in that bill were really good ideas.
They were.
Oh, it was going to take the equipment and give funding to the border, which hasn't happened in my memory. Right now they're trying to impeach, the Republicans are trying to impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security, for the catch and release policies. That's what they're citing. But they did the exact same thing under the Trump administration. It's just immigration has become so heavily politicized that it doesn't move. It doesn't go anywhere because, as you said, nobody wants to give the other side the victory. But that catch and release thing was really interesting because Donald Trump, on the campaign trail before he came to office, he was talking about how they were going to end catch and release. And what catch and release is? It's when asylum come to the country, they get set a court date, and then they let them go, right? And most Republicans have been against it, and I cannot completely understand why, But Donald Trump tried to shut it down, and then quickly learned during his term it was impossible to do so. There were so many people flooding over the border and so many asylum seekers that it was impossible to detain that many people.
Well, that's why I pulled this up. In December, 225,000 people got taken into custody from the border in December alone. Okay, the first 27 days of December, actually.
Where do you put them?
Where do you put those people? And that's just the ones you called. So, the sad part is this number, that the amount of people that are coming into this country. I mean, think about it, man. I mean, let's put this in real perspective. If you're only catching 225,000 of them, there has to be another 200,000 getting in. I mean, you just have to use some logical math that they catch half of them and half of them they don't. I mean, because that's, and hey, maybe that's a stretch. I don't know. But if we have, let's just say, I don't know. All right, sorry, thought something went off. These 200,000 people that do get caught, they're going to get released. We're looking at potentially, and this isn't accuracy. I mean, I'm sure we can drill into the numbers, but it could be, 400,000 to 500,000 immigrants coming into our country a month, and that's insane. I mean, we're talking 6 million people in a year. I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot of people that we're having to process. We're catching some of them. We're not catching some of them, but they all are going to need support from us in some form or fashion. They're going to need housing. They're going to need jobs. They're going to need health care. They're going to need a lot of things. That's a lot of people. Even just say it's the 200,000. Let's just say it's 200,000. We're catching every single one of them. And where do we put them? When we don't put them somewhere, where do they go? Who pays for this? It's a problem. It's a major problem, and no one wants to fix it because they don't want to give the other side the win. And the other part is, I think they kind of like the issue because it's a political issue that people get upset about. So the Republicans have used it as a talking point for 2024 elections. So now Biden's finally coming to the table because he realizes it's going to really hurt him in the elections if he don't fix it. He's compromising finally, and they're not going to let him win because it's an election year.
Yeah, it's silly. It's absolutely silly. There's a lot of stuff in that bill that would have given relief, to the departments that are dealing with the issue. And it's very, very disappointing to know that it's going to die because they just don't want to give him the win. But, I mean, just thinking about it philosophically, man, I've had thoughts about the underlying issues, right? So you look at Honduras, where two gangs have essentially taken over their entire country, right? So you've got this huge percentage of the population of Honduras jumping on the top of trains, to right here. And part of me just thinks, why can't we fix that? Why can't we fix Honduras? And it's funny to me, I was thinking about it today.
It'd be cheaper.
Well, I was thinking about it today, and it's when they say that an army of people are marching across the border. Why don't we make them an army? Why don't we take them, make them an army, and send them to Honduras to take over Honduras to make it livable again? I know that's outside the box.
Well, that's a very valid point. Take all these people. This is this is not politically correct by any means.
No,
you take the immigrants that you catch, you train them, you you turn them into a military, and then you make them go fight the immigrants coming back in, and whoever wins gets to come in.
No. I'm saying there's.
I know that.
No, I'm saying you send them back to take over their own government.
I know.
And Honduras now becomes part of the United States, and then they can be United States citizens but stay in Honduras.
I know where you're going with it. I was just saying this could be kind of a reality show. You know, you take the immigrants once they come in, you train them, and then you make them go fight the immigrants trying to cross the border.
Give them the option of military service, with the GI Bill and the whole nine. I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying fun to think about, right? I mean, think about it. The Civil War, they did it to the Irish, World War II, huh? That's our problem with immigration. We don't have a war.
Yeah, right. No, it's sad because, look, man, there's people that really deserve to be here, that want to be here, that will contribute a lot to this country in a good way, and we can't find a way to make this work. We can't find common ground, and we're just basically ignoring the issue and using it as a political talking point instead of trying to find anything to fix this. And it's hurting the people that actually need to be here, that actually are trying to escape something bad going on in their country, persecution or just horrible living conditions. And that's what America's for. It's what America was always founded for. And so they catch the flack because they're probably going to be the ones that get caught. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The ones that don't get caught, they're here for a lot of reasons. And I guarantee you the most concerning part to me is some of these people are coming over here with very, very bad intentions. You're not going to ever convince me that we haven't let some of our enemies in our own walls that are at some point going to take it out on us. And that's what's concerning to me is like, we have no idea. I mean, you only know the ones you caught. I mean, for a fact you've caught some terrorists on the watch list. You don't know who actually got in. You don't know half of what's going on. So that's concerning because, I mean, this isn't 5 people a day. I mean, 200, they apprehended 220, a 250,000 people got apprehended in 1 month. That's a lot of damn people. And if only 1% of them are bad, that's still a lot of people that are coming in this country with bad intentions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. And I don't know how I feel about this Abbott federal government thing going on. I'm kind of, I mean, I hate Greg Abbott. I think he's a total fucking douchebag. However, he's trying to use physical barriers to prevent people from flooding into Texas illegally. So I don't really see what the problem is with the physical barriers. Just, as long as there's signage in several languages that say, hey, if you try to cross this river, you're going to die, then they can make their own choice.
I think it goes back to it would give him a political win. Now, I think where the Supreme Court weighed in and said, well, hey, that's not your jurisdiction. And I personally think that's probably the right decision.
No, it was. They had to do that. They could not.
Well, look, if you don't do that, then California can open their borders and let everyone in because they have the right to do it. Like, people don't think of it from the other side. Like, all right, so you're putting up barriers to stop people from coming in. If that's your right as a state, then what if California decides they want to open up their borders completely and let anyone and everyone in? Well, that would be their right. I mean, that becomes a slippery slope that would be
I know.
dangerous.
I mean, they would have adjudicated in favor of Abbott, then I mean, you're talking about going back to this is why we fought the Civil War. Like states' rights versus federal government. When they're in conflict, the federal government wins. That's it.
Yep.
So they didn't have a choice on the Supreme Court decision. Yeah, but I do wonder, like, what is the argument for preventing physical barriers from being erected? I just don't understand that. Like when Trump was build the wall and Mexico's going to pay for it, of course that's bullshit. But and of course they can come over on planes and there's other ways to get in the country. And with the exception of cutting off water rights to ranchers, I didn't really see a problem with having a fucking wall. Right? I mean,
well, but then you have the environmentalists that jump in and say that it impedes animals from,
there's
making their migrations, and you have all these groups that jump in that have a reason why not. But at the core of it, I think, once again, this is all politically driven. I think that the wall and the barrier idea has always been a Republican idea. All right. I mean, Bush talked about a wall, right? And so this has always been a Republican idea. And so if Democrats were to sign off on this, they would be signing off on something that that's the problem. The Republicans created that concept of this is how we stop them. The Democrats have to go the other way with no, because it's such a divided issue. And I understand it because there's legitimate people that need to be here. But to your point, what is wrong with the barrier? Like, what harm does it do? Just like, I mean, all of these senators and Democrats and Republicans both, they have fences around their houses. I mean,
exactly. I don't understand it. And there's this prevailing theme that people think the president has a lot of control over it. And I think that's silly, right? Because the president can only enforce the laws that are on the books. Like I mentioned the child separation thing in another podcast, right? Like everybody wanted to demonize Trump over that, but he was enforcing the laws that are on the books, right? When Biden's hands are tied with funding comes from laws, right? Congress needs to pass a law if his hands want to be untied. So this prevailing thing where whichever president is going to be is going to like fix the issue. Trump didn't fix it and he couldn't fix it, right? He didn't have laws to fix it. So until Congress passes laws, it doesn't matter who's in the White House. The thing's not going to get fixed. But it goes to this overarching thing is like, are we as a country too stupid to have leaders that are going to get things done? People think the president is in control of gas prices. They think that's real. You ever OPEC? Give me a fucking break.
100%. I think where presidents have given this false sense of control is through executive orders. But if you really understand how those work, to your point, they can only leverage those based off of existing laws.
Right.
They can't create a law with an executive order. They can just kind of manipulate a law a little bit to get the outcome they want and make it a temporary law for however long they're president. But it cannot be created from nothing. And I agree. A lot of people think that. People think that these executive orders are just out of thin air. No, there's laws on the books. They're just referencing those laws and using those laws to get the outcome they want or make it look that way. So you're exactly right. And that's why it's a shame, because this issue probably won't ever get fixed, because we are doing what we're doing right now. You've got the Senate that actually came together, made compromises. I think the law that they're introducing is actually a good law. I mean, I think it covers. Will it fix everything? No, but it's a start in the right direction.
Yeah, it does some good things.
Yeah,
And it's
but
consensus, it's compromise. Too much of our political system, our legislature system, too much of our legislature is a bunch of crazy obstructionist assholes keeping anything from getting done.
correct.
Like the population of a small county in fucking northern Georgia doesn't get to say how the rest of the country's going to go,
Yep.
but we're so closely divided right now that's the way it is,
Yep.
But I mean, I think a congressman's job should be to find consensus to improve the situation, even if it's not 100% what you want,
Well, nothing's ever 100% what you want as a human, no matter who you are. And say what you will about Bill Clinton, but there were more bipartisan laws passed under Bill Clinton that actually did good for the country.
Yeah.
Than probably. I mean, I can't say the rest of the history of the country because I haven't been around that long and I hadn't studied that hard. But in my lifetime, I'll put it that way. In my lifetime, he pulled, like, he knew how to compromise, and it was a win for him, and it was a win for the Republicans, and that's all everyone needs. They need to both be able to say, "Hey, we got this done," and the Republicans got to be able to say that. The Democrats got to be able to say that. Well, that's how you do it. You compromise, and it's not going to be exactly the way you like it, but you will get a chance to go out and use it for your advantage when you're up for re-election, and run off of what you've done as that's your record. So why we can't get back to that, I'll never understand. Like, it's not that big of a rocket science.
We had a budget surplus under Bill Clinton that was, I mean, that was passed with both parties. Like Newt Gingrich was part of that. Whatever you want to say. Yep. But both parties came together and passed a budget that had a surplus on it. And now it's like they gotta pass these little short-term funding bills every 90 days to keep the fucking government from shutting down. It's ridiculous.
Do you realize that we have added $1 trillion in debt in the last 3 months?
Whew.
Dude,
man, but it's like it's every single president since freaking Bill Clinton. You had George Bush.
Agreed.
The war. And then you had Obama. Which, I mean, didn't quite do it that, but I mean, there was still it increased under Obama. Trump, for all his talk, it increased under Trump. Here we are with Biden, and that's one of the reasons, like the major donors, like the Koch brothers and what's their PAC? I can't think of the name, but reasons like there's Haley is because they wanted fiscal responsibility, right? And it's like that didn't happen. Like he spent more money than fucking Obama, And when are we going to get a politician that understands limitless inflationary spending? Debt is not the way to go. Like, we'll never get to zero debt, I mean, that's where money comes from. That's why we have cash, is because the U.S. has debt.
Correct. But like, you cannot be building more debt than your economy is expanding. Your debt cannot expand faster than your economy.
Yeah, and that's when you get inflation. That's when you're taking shopping carts full of cash to the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread. That's what, and a lot of, like, that's part of what happened to Haiti.
Like, I know. We're heading down a really bad path, man. I mean, it's scary if you look at it, because I'm telling you right now, there's economists coming out and literally talking about that we're now reaching that teetering point of that we're expanding our debt faster than our economy is growing, and that's concerning. I mean, it's in 2019, I'm looking at this here by the year, U.S. debt by the year. All right, let's just look at it for real quick, and we'll probably end on this note. But it's something that I think that we like. Remember when politicians used to actually talk about this? Remember when they used to actually bring this up?
Mm-hmm.
They used to actually use this as a debate and how they were going to fix it and etc. They never fixed it, but they actually talked about it. Now we don't talk about it anymore because they don't know how to fix it. But it was 31.42 trillion by the end of 2022.
Whew. Man.
All right. If we roll down here, I mean, I just want you to look at a quick snapshot because this is all the years of the debt. All right. But I want you to look at just, it was incremental, incremental. You start getting here, and this is where it starts exploding.
What year?
And do what?
What year does it start exploding? 2021. Yeah.
Well, it exploded massively between 2019 and 2020 because of COVID. I mean, look at that. I mean, $5 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
$5 trillion in 1 year. And then it jumps another 2 trillion after that. And then I need to find how much it expanded in the last year because it expanded quite a bit in the past. Like, let's see, how much debt was added in 2023? The problem is they keep just raising the debt ceiling.
Yeah.
But we're not doing anything to fix the problem. I mean, we're doing nothing. We're doing nothing at all. I mean,
and then, this is another example where nobody wants to give the other team a win, but I mean, like my own personal finances, like the government runs theirs, I would be in jail, right?
Yes, 100% you would be.
Yep. Like, I don't get my paycheck and then go spend $400,000 in a month. Like, I don't go buy a Maserati. I can't do that.
Look at this graph. All right, so there's a couple peaks here. It was kind of on a steady incline from 2013 to 2019, right? I mean, that's a pretty steady, like just kind of there's a couple jumps and downs and all that. But 2020, obviously, massive jump, right? That's to be expected.
Yeah, I'll send that shit.
2023, May of 2023, 31.4 trillion. By the end of 2023, $34 trillion.
Well, it's getting to the point where the interest on our debt, is becoming billions of dollars.
Correct.
It's like people that get into credit cards for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and their minimum payments start to be $3,000-$4,000 a month. The most of its interest, know. So that's where we're at. But I think like all of the people in Washington need to understand that it's got to. There's two solutions, and they both need to happen. Taxes have to be raised, right? Not on me and you, like extremely wealthy people and corporations need to be large corporations, not small businesses, but they need to be paying more taxes. And at the same time, spending has to be cut. Both things need to happen. Have you been following this, the Supreme Court case about taxing unrealized income?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really interesting, because what's basically happening is that billionaires, or what they're actually proposing is people that have over $200 million in accounts somewhere. They're not actually taking their money out of these assets, so it'll be taxed. What they're doing is taking out loans on the assets, right? So loans can't be taxed. Repaying a loan can't be taxed. So they're getting super low interest loans on an asset or a security or something like that. That's what they're living off of, and they're not paying any taxes on it. It's ridiculous.
There's a lot of loopholes, man. That's the problem. I mean, there's a lot of loopholes, and it's set out to benefit the rich, and that's the issue here. I'm all for businesses getting loopholes and being able to, as a small business, being able to recoup your money and keep you on your feet and not getting taxed to death. But when it gets to these large corporations that are making billions of dollars, there has to be something done about that. Because, I mean, when you see some of these companies that are making billions and not paying anything in taxes when it's all said and done, something is wrong with that. 100%. And I'm not a proponent of raising taxes, but at the same time, something has to be fixed. But to your point, it can't just be raising taxes. You have to cut spending at the same time. We can't just raise taxes and just keep doing what we're doing. We need to streamline the budget all the way around, raise taxes where it needs to be raised, and cut spending where it needs to be cut. Good luck on us ever getting there.
Yeah. You know, everything's too obstructionist. You know?
Yep. Well, hey, man. Look, it's been great. It's been a great talk. A lot of good info. I think me and you will probably have some breakout sessions around politics alone, and we'll just focus on some politics a little bit, and we'll probably have a little spinoff here soon. So we'll work on that. But it's been fun, and
yeah, I feel
else I'll see.
Together, it kind of like lands on politics and stays there. You know, some goofier stuff.
Well, I think Chris helps break that up. But at the same time, I think there's, talks for each thing, and we need to have these conversations. So, we're going to keep working on our formats and get them down where they need to be.
Feeling well, but like I just have this feeling like he's somewhere watching like midget luchador wrestling. Those assholes.
Well, it's been fun, man. It's been fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'll talk to you next week, man.
Go. Always a good time, man. Take it easy.
All right. See you.